And we have one other person coming on. Lisa, welcome. I don't know if Lisa's on just yet. There we go. Hi, Lisa. How are ya? Oh. She's typing. All right. So I am going to share my screen. And so what I want you guys to know is that I'm going to be sharing my screen so that I can show you step by step how to do particular things with Google Forms. You are welcome to look at my screen, or if you want, you can work right alongside me. If you have any questions, I do not have a moderator, so I will not be able to see the chat. So please unmute if you have a question. Yes, Gail.
I usually work with two computers. This one for meetings. This is a Google Chromebook that the students use. And the screen is fairly small, but I have on my home computer, which the microphone doesn't work on, that I like to, it's a bigger screen, and it's a touch screen. I can make it bigger, smaller.
Sure.
You know. Can I use that? Can I join the meeting on that one too?
Yes, just mute yourself on the other one.
Mute
so that you have it. Yeah, just make sure you're muted on at least one of them. It doesn't matter which one, but obviously your microphone doesn't work on the other one. Yeah. So just mute it just in case there's background noise, and you'll be fine.
Maybe we don't want like that feedback.
Right.
Sound, right.
Just in case anyone types in a chat question, I will be your unofficial moderator.
Oh, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So yes, if you do not have the ability to unmute, you can also type in a question and Mike will let me know. Thank you again. Great. So let me share my screen. And I apologize in advance for my dogs in the background. They bark at everything, so. Okay, so everybody should be able to see my Google screen. Can everybody see my Google screen?
Yeah.
Great. So there are, I want to show you first. Go ahead.
Google screen, I can't see anything.
So Fatima, you're calling in. You're calling in, so you're not going to be able to see my shared screen. So what I would suggest is either taking notes with what I'm saying, or if you are able to log in from a computer using the link instead of the phone number, please do that because otherwise you won't be able to see my shared screen.
Yeah, but what is the link? I didn't see the link here.
The link, so Laura didn't send you the link when she sent you, when she let you know about it?
Only the join by phone. I see that Google Form workshop and join by phone, but only the number.
So there was a bit.ly link. Do you see something that starts with bit.ly? On that it's on the are you looking at the flyer?
A PDF.
Are you looking at the flyer that says Google Forms Workshop?
Yes, workshop. Yeah, Google workshop.
Right above, right above where it says join by phone, there's a link.
Yeah, HTTP address.
Yeah. This is the okay. I should write it to
HTTP and bit.ly. Just click on that link and that'll get you on so you can see my screen.
Okay, I press it. It's not open.
Did you tried the link?
I should write the link. Okay, I want to write it.
Write it and then open up a new tab and then go to that, or open up a new tab on your computer and go to that link.
Okay, I'll try now.
Okay,
I will try.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Elsa, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So I am keeping attendance, so you guys just know I will have a record that you guys attended as well. So right now, you should be able to see my shared screen, and I'm just on google.com. There are two ways to access Google Forms. Okay, the first is through your apps menu. So if you are logged in, right now I'm logged in with my NM Delta account. There's an apps menu right here. It kind of looks like a waffle or a Rubik's Cube. If you click there, you can go to Google Forms. So if you scroll down a little bit, it's the purple page. Looks like it has some bullet points on it. You click that and it will take you to Google Forms. Now, the other way is just the direct URL, which is forms.google.com. So I'm going to type it in right here in my URL bar, forms.google.com, and it will take you to the same page. So, you know, the page that it went to didn't change for me, but this shows all of my Google Forms. Now, if you've never created a Google form, you're not going to see any forms like I have where it says recent forms. All that it's going to show you is to start a new form where you can start with a blank form or a blank quiz, and then they give you some templates. So you can definitely work from those templates. I myself tend to not work from those templates. I'm going to mute my notifications. I'm sorry, guys. So I tend to work from my from a blank Google form. I do not use templates. And then once you have forms, they will show up. You can see I've created quite a few. So we're going to start first with a regular form, not a quiz. And so I'm going to show you how to create those. Now, the purpose of those can be for a survey or for a writing assignment. If you want a student to fill in a writing, you know, they want them to watch a video and then maybe answer some questions and things like that that are more free form. You can do that just from a blank form. So when you click on blank form, it will bring up what is called an untitled form. It always says that, and it's defaulted to purple. That is just the default color. And I'll talk to you about changing that in a little bit. But the first thing that you want to do when you create a form is to give it a title. So I'm going to call this Google Forms Workshop. And that is my title. Now you'll notice once it's saved and then you come up here to the top left, and hopefully you guys can, you know, follow along. If I'm going too fast, please let me know and I can slow down. But on the top left, it says Untitled Form. When I click that, it defaults to what I gave the title. You know, it defaults to that title that I gave it. So all I have to do is click up there, and now that is my title, and it will show up in Google Drive. If I go to my Drive, that form will show up. So I can go through Drive to get to it again later. So you can, if you want, create a short description. If this is something that you're assigning to your students, you can give them some instructions. If it is something that you want to send to other teachers, for example, you can just let them know maybe the purpose of it. You know, please answer all questions, something like that. It doesn't matter what you write there, and it's totally optional. You do not have to put a form description. Now, it does give you one question already. So if I were to click where it says Untitled Question, it gives me my question box. And it usually defaults to multiple choice, but when I start typing in my question field, Google Forms is predictive. So it will try to predict what kind of question you want to ask. And if you click on this drop down, you can see that there are several question types. Of course, multiple choice tends to be popular, and that's why it defaults to multiple choice. But you can have short answer, you can have paragraph answer, check boxes if you want them to check more than one option. Multiple choice is just for one option. You can do a drop down where they have options to choose from and then they pick the right one. You can give them the opportunity to upload a file, which is a kind of a more advanced question. You can do a linear scale, also known as a Likert scale, where, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about this? You can do a multiple choice or checkbox grid, which looks different than the list. So if you just pick regular multiple choice or regular checkboxes, it's just an up and down list. The grid has them side by side. And then there's a date and a time option. So if you are creating a form for students and you don't want it to be anonymous, a lot of times, that's something that I had to learn the hard way as an instructor. I would sometimes forget just to ask them for their name, and then I wouldn't know who submitted their assignment. which is sometimes frustrating. So I always want to make sure that I ask for their name. And if you notice, now it changed to short answer. So I can change that if I want to, but since it's just the name, yes, you want to leave it as short answer.
Is this
here is this the quiz
is this a quiz
form?
So this is not a quiz form. This is a blank form.
Blank form.
Yes. Now, please keep in mind that if you change your mind and you want to change it to a quiz later, you can still do that, even if you didn't create a quiz form to begin with. So I'll show you how to do that, even from here. Okay, was that I thought I heard the chat ping. Was that the correct question? Okay, okay.
That was, I was a little off. I'm sorry, Gail.
No, that's okay.
That's okay. It's just that, like I tried to get my other computer, I was trying to, multitask.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. But yeah, this one was just a blank form. It was not a quiz form.
Okay.
So on every question, you can make it required or not. So I want to make sure that they don't skip that question. I want to know who they are. So I click that little toggle switch and now it's purple. If you want to remove it from being required, it will show up as gray. Okay, so I want to make that required. And now there, I'm done with one question. Now I can hit this plus sign over to the right and hit add question. So that is just an add option. Okay. So now maybe I want to know when they did this. Keep in mind that these forms will always be time-stamped. When they submit a form, whether it's a quiz or not, you will get a timestamp when you look at the individual responses. You'll be able to tell when they submitted it. But maybe you still want to ask, what is today's date? So if I put today's date, this is another example of how Google Forms is predictive. It predicted that I wanted a date question, which now shows month, day, year. So they can either write in the date or they can click on the calendar and they can just click on the date that's showing up. And I want to make that required. Now you'll notice here, back where name is, there's an asterisk in red. That shows me that this is a required question. So it's a very quick way to go through all your questions that you wanted to be required. Maybe you wanted them all required. And so you can put that asterisk. So you can put that, you can just make sure that that asterisk is there so that you can see that they're all required. Okay, so now, whatever you're creating, again, you can just build your questions from here. Now, if it's a simple survey, you can have all your questions in one section, meaning that when your respondents go to this form, they will see all the questions from top to bottom on that one page, and then at the very bottom, it'll hit submit. But maybe it's a longer form, and you do not want everything on that same page and you want it to go to a different page. So that is when we will create a section. Okay, so I'm just going to recap really quickly so that you can understand the difference between another question and a section. So if you have all your questions just top to bottom, then it'll show up all on one page when they go to preview it. And just so you know, you can preview your survey at any time by hitting that eyeball icon right at the top right. So if I hit that eyeball icon, I can see what my respondents will look at. So there's the name, there's the date, and then they can hit submit. If I have 20 questions on here, it'll be a scroll down and they'll be able to see them all and then hit submit. I'm going to X out of that preview. But maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want it to be several pages so that they don't have to do a lot of scrolling. So at that point, I will hit this. It kind of looks like an equal sign down here. So I can add a section. And now you can see that it shows section 1 of 2, section 2 of 2. So maybe this next section, and you're going to give each section a title. Maybe this section is video response. So I can say, watch the attached video and answer the questions that follow. So what I mean by that is now I have made it to where I can add a video. So that this toolbar over here on the right kind of follows me every time I'm creating a question. So if I want to add a video, I can click on that video icon. And it's embedded with YouTube. So I can do a search. Maybe I don't know exactly the video's URL, but I know what the video is. So I can do a keyword search here. And so I can say dancing cats. And this will show me all the videos with dancing cats. And there's the preview. So maybe I can see, okay, best dancing cats ever compilation. So I want to add that, and you can hit select. Now your other option is to type the URL. So if you already know your YouTube video, you're in YouTube, just copy the URL and paste it right here, and it will show the video, and then you can select it. So I'm going to go back to my dancing cats search. There's my dancing cats video. So I'm going to select that. And there is the video. So they're going to watch that video. And you can title it. And they will watch that video. Now you can add a question below that. And I'm sorry, guys, it looks like I'm going to let somebody else in really quickly. So give me a second to do that. Where'd it go? That's not it. Sorry. Okay. So now that I've made my video, I can ask a question about it. And maybe I want them to rate it. Ooh, I'm hearing an echo. If you guys can please mute yourselves. Thank you. Oh, I'm still hearing an echo.
I'm muted mine now.
It might be Fatima. If you hang up the phone. Yeah, that worked. Okay. I think that was just the phone echoing. Okay, so now I've created a linear scale because I said on a scale of 1 to 10, and you can choose the range of your scale. So I want it to be 1 to 10. You can label your scale, that way they know 1 is the lowest rating. Not at all funny. And then your 10 is, this is the funniest video I've ever seen. So now you have your labels. They know that 1 is bad, 2 is good. You can switch it up. And sometimes if you have a lot of linear scale questions, maybe you want to switch it up to make sure that they are paying attention. Maybe 1 is good for one question and not for another, or maybe you don't even want to go there because you don't want to confuse your students. That's totally up to you. But you can.
What if you want them to respond, by writing something?
That's a great question. So I can always choose again whether this is required, and then I'll make another question, or you don't have to have this scale at all. Maybe you don't want this scale. So you want them to write maybe a short response, maybe a 1-paragraph response, So here, write a 1-paragraph response to your favorite, or describing your favorite moment. There we go. Your favorite moment of the video. And it could be anything.
Now, how did you get that paragraph thing up there?
So because Google is predictive, it automatically did that for me. But you can always pick your drop-down button right there and choose paragraph. You can always do that.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes Google is just flat out wrong, but usually it's not. So you notice here it says long answer text. So now they can write a complete paragraph. And I want to make sure that they don't skip this question. So I'm going to require that question. And so this, to me, Google Forms is a really great way to get students to practice their typing and to create written responses that show up for you in a very neat way, because I'll show you in a minute how you can look at responses both through Forms and through the Google Sheets. Excuse me for just a second, everybody. So, so yeah, this is a really great way to have those written responses if you want to have that for a video. Okay, so that's an example of a paragraph question. So maybe now I want to create a question that is conditional. And what I mean by that is if they answer yes, I want them to go to this part of my form. If they answer no, I want them to go to a different part of my form. In order to do that, and this is where Google Forms gets a little bit more complicated. In order to do that, you do have to create another section because the conditions, the question conditions are based on sections. So I'm going to create another section and I am going to call this video response 2. And all you have to do is to create that section at this point. You don't have to create any questions for it. Once your section exists, I can come back up here to this section before that, and I'm going to add another question that says, do you love dogs? And I'm going to make this a yes or no question. Okay, and you can see that Google guessed that it was multiple choice, which is correct. And what's really cool about the multiple choice questions is that they give you options that you can add all of them or you can just choose them one at a time. So I don't want a maybe. I also don't want other. You can add other if you want to, and then they would write it in, but I just want yes or no. And I'm going to require this question. So this, the reason why I am recording this session is so that you can come back to this part, because this took me, you know, kind of the longest to get used to with Google Forms was these conditional questions. If you look here at the bottom right of your question box, it gives you 3 dots, and that's your more options. And there's a go to section based on answer option. So if I click that, I can say, if they answer yes, then they will go to the next section. If they answer no, I can either send them backward, which I think is kind of funny, or I can have them submit the form. They don't love dogs? Fine, they're done. They're done. They don't love dogs. Now, they don't know this, but if they say yes, then I'm going to give them a funny dog video. And then they can respond to that. Now, instructionally, this isn't probably the best example because if they say no, maybe you want to take them to something else. And if I had a 5th section, you know, or a 4th section, I'm sorry, then I could send them to the 4th section. I can have them skip section 3. And so that's where conditional questions come in handy. And one example that I could tell you for using these types of questions is, if I wanted to do an exit survey for my students, say they finished either the GED or high set, they're done, and I want to give them an exit survey to find out if they've gone to college or if they've gotten a job. I can ask, have you enrolled in college? Yes or no. If they say yes, it will take them to a section asking, which school did you enroll in? When are you starting? What is your major, or what is your proposed major? If they said no, there's no point in asking those questions. You could have those questions below and just tell them to skip them, but that is a kind of a little waste of time for them. So if they said no, it would take them to an employment section. Did you get a job? Yes or no? If they said yes, then it will ask them, when did you start working? Where are you working? How much are you earning? Or did you get a better job? You know, so those are really the best examples I can think of right offhand as to why you would, or how you would use those conditional questions. Did you do this? Yes? Okay, let me ask you some more information. If your answer is no, then I'll take you to the next section. And that could even be a conditional question at that point. So those are, again, just some examples. But here, this is how you do that. So again, you go to that More Options menu right here, which is those 3 dots, and you go to section based on answer. So if they hit no, it's going to take them to the Submit Form button. If they answer yes, now they're going to the next section. So here I am in section 3, and I'm going to give them a funny dog video. So I actually shouldn't have hit add question And if you do something on accident, just hit the delete button. It'll get rid of it. So now I'm in section 3 and I want to add another video. So now I want dancing dogs. So now it's going to show me my list of funny dancing dogs compilation. Gail, did you have a question?
Where's the delete button?
Let me show you. Okay, so I'm selecting this so that it creates the question. So here on the video, it's on the top right.
Okay, it's the garbage can thing.
It's the garbage can icon, yes.
Yeah.
Now you might wonder what this icon is, and I'll get to that in a minute. But that's the copy or duplicate option.
Okay.
So I can title this Dancing Dogs. And now I can hit add question. Now you'll notice here that the trash can is at the bottom because it's a question. It's not a video. So you can delete it from right there. Okay. So what was this video about? Now, it didn't predict for me. For some reason, it didn't predict that I wanted a written answer. So if it's wrong, just click on that drop down and you can choose short answer or paragraph, and you can make that required or not. So if you wanted another long answer question and you didn't want to have to necessarily go here, you can always just duplicate it. It will duplicate the question exactly, and then you can modify it. The reason why I've used duplicate in the past is when I'm doing multiple choice options, and it's always A, B, C, D, E. And so I can just duplicate it. And that way I don't have to type A, B, C, D, E again. I can just leave that there. So that's always a great option or a great reason to use the duplicate option. Now I just want to delete that because I didn't really want to duplicate it. So now if I were to preview this form, there are 3 sections, meaning that I won't see this whole form just like I do now. So if I hit preview, I'm just going to see the first 2 questions, and you can answer this just like you know, anybody that's going to be filling this out. So I'm going to fill this out because I want to test it. So you can always test your forms to make sure everything works the way you want it to. Okay, so now I have this. This will help me watch the video. I'm going to answer these questions. And you can answer them however you want to, doesn't matter. And I want to test it out to make sure this works. So I hit yes, I do love dogs. So I'm going to go next. And now I see that it gave me the dog video and the question about the video. If I want to check and make sure that my other option works, I can go back and I can change my answer to no. And then I can hit next. There we go. It's done. We know that it worked. It took me to the other option. So if I want to go back and change this to yes and actually submit the form, because you can do that. So I'm going to make sure that I answer all the questions. Now, if I left this blank, because I want to make sure that yes, this is required. If I hit submit, now it's going to give me that error message. This is a required question. So I can go to answer it. And I hit submit. And now it has been recorded. Okay. So I'm going to exit out of my preview because now I see that I have a response. It was my test response. Okay. Once you have students who answer, you can look at their responses this way. So the summary will show everybody's response by question, which is really great because it could be a bar graph or a pie chart to show the different answers. So this, you know, 100% of my respondents said yes, they love dogs, and then I can see all of their responses. I can also see individual responses. And so this shows each response per person. Now I skipped question, but I'm going to go back to this. This will just show you one by one the answers per question. So it separates that way. The other way to look at responses is to build a Google Sheet. So the first time you do this, and it will only ask you this once, you go to Open Spreadsheet, and you can create a new spreadsheet or select an existing spreadsheet. Now I want to create a new one. And now it shows the responses in a spreadsheet. So you can see up and down, especially if you have a lot of responses, you can see who said what. You can see the timestamp when it was submitted. And again, all the responses. You can download this as an Excel spreadsheet, and you can manipulate the data so you can see how many people answered A on this question. You can do a sort, and it won't mess with your original spreadsheet that has all of your answers. So I really like using the spreadsheets because it helps me to see all the detail right here. And this will be in Drive as well. So you do not have to go to your form every time you want to see the responses. So maybe you want to have a survey that's a contact form, and it's having people contact you if they have a question. So you want to check your contact form every day at a certain time. So what you would do, I'm going to go back to Google really quickly to show you how to find that. I'm going to go to Google Drive. So that's the option I'm choosing in my apps menu. You can also go to drive.google.com. It will show up in my Drive. Now, right now, because it is a recent form, it's showing up in my quick access. But otherwise, it'll show up just right there in my Google Drive. And there's my responses. I can click on the responses right from here, and it will give me my spreadsheet. I do not have to go to the form to get to those responses. Okay, and this is true whether it is a quiz or not. So it's already 12:38, and I do want to get to the quizzes, but I wanted to see if anybody had any questions about all of that information. I know that was a whole lot, so I just want to see if anybody has questions.
Wow, that was a lot.
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, unless I practice it and can do or not do something, I don't think I can. I don't know enough to ask a question.
And maybe, maybe next time we'll do a bit of a slower workshop. Maybe I need to split this into 2 parts and focus on quizzes next time. Would you prefer that?
That is a fabulous idea.
All right. Well, then we won't worry about quizzes for now. Okay. What I want to do then is I want to give you guys the opportunity to create a form, but I apologize. I want to show you a couple more things before you start building a form. And the first is how to change your theme. So right now I'm in the edit portion of the form. So I can change my theme by going to this painting palette right here. I can click there, and you can choose either a different color for your theme and leave it alone as it is. So maybe I want to change it to teal because that's my favorite color. So I want to change it to teal. And you can take a look. Maybe I want to change it to orange. You might want to have a different color form for different classes. Maybe you have 2 classes and you want them to have the same form, but you want to give each one a different color. You can do that. There's also this header image. You can choose, I clicked on choose image there for my header image. They give you some pre-formatted pictures, and this gives you different themes. So this is the work and school theme. You can choose illustrations, which of course, as you can see, are drawings, birthday, food and dining, party, just kids. They give you a ton of different options. Now, some of them are, I think they're GIFs. I think they're because they move, but others do not. So you can choose which one you want based on that. You can try out different ones, but I'm going to choose my theme. So, oh, somebody else is trying to get in. Give me just a second, guys. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here to the themes. So you can choose, again, which theme you want. I really like this theme, so I'm going to pick that one. And I clicked on the one I want, and then I'm going to choose Insert. Now, what is going to happen is it is going to give you that header image, and then it is going to pick a color based on that image, but you can choose your theme color. Maybe I want it to be more of a rose color. So I picked that one. And now when I go to preview, when I hit my eyeball, I can see what it looks like. Now that looks a little bit different, and it has that header. You can also upload your own image. So maybe I want to change this to one of my own. So I can hit upload. Now, what I would, and you can choose it from your computer, okay? What I would warn against with the upload is if you are trying to choose a picture that is either a square or a wide rectangle that's kind of tall, the whole thing will not show up. It will not format or reformat the photo to fit into the frame. So what you want to choose is a banner photo. If you already have a banner photo, great. I can tell you that I have spent hours, literally hours, just trying to fit a banner photo that I created so that it can look right. And it was for NMEA forms. And so I just wanted the NMEA logo with a purple banner, and that took forever to format. So if you don't absolutely have to upload your photo, I would be a little wary of that unless you have the time to make sure that it's formatted properly. So I can just, I like choosing from the themes they have. I think that they do have great themes. So I can change it if I wanted to. Now I'm going to change to the bubbles. It will, again, change the colors based on your header image. So I can go back to that kind of rose color if I wanted to. And then when I preview it, you can always preview it, see how that looks, see if you like it, and then leave it alone. So that is changing the theme. That's just changing the color, making it a little bit more personalized for you, a little bit more intricate, if you will. The last thing I want to talk to you about before I have you guys practice is your settings. So here, it is always defaulted. And so, I'm sorry, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I went to settings by going to that gear on the top right. That's right next to my preview button. So in your general settings, you can collect email addresses. Now, this will make students or anybody, any of your respondents, log in with a Gmail account. So when you click on it, it will collect their email addresses. And then you can choose to give response receipts. Now, what this means is it will send them an email saying, yes, you received their response. So you can do that as well. You can make sure that the students always get a response receipt email saying that they turned in this form, especially if it's a quiz, okay? Now, the other thing that's very important is it defaults to this option to restrict to users in NMDELT. And the reason why it says NMDELT for me is because it's my email that I'm using right now. If you're using a different email address, it'll say something else. But I'm going to uncheck that because maybe my students don't have those email accounts. So I want to make sure that it doesn't restrict it, because otherwise they would have to use an NMDELT account in order to see the form. It will make them log in with NMDELT. So I'm going to uncheck that. If all of your students have an NMDELT account and you want to make sure that they are using their school account, then you can leave that checked. You can make sure that they're using their NMDELT account because you know whose email that is. And that will keep them from accidentally using their personal email to respond to your form. So you can choose to check it or uncheck it. That is up to you. You can also limit to one response. Now, if you do that, then they will have to sign into Google and they won't be able to do it again. Okay? You can also give them the option to edit after they submit it or see the summary charts and text responses. Now, for students, for the most part, you probably won't want to give them that option, but maybe you do want to give them the option to edit after they submit it. So that's up to you. Now, the presentation setting, you can allow them to see the progress bar if it's a very long form and you want them to be able to see what % they've finished. You can do that. You can also shuffle the question order. Now, this is probably more for if you have a class that are in person and they're next to each other and they're taking a quiz and maybe you don't want them to be looking at each other's answers. You can shuffle the question order. But that is totally, again, up to you. You can also show a link to submit another response, which is what the default is. And then you can change your confirmation message. Thank you for submitting this assignment. you can personalize that for them. If you have any questions, call me at, or if you have any questions, email me at, you can put all of that there. And then you save your settings. Since we're going to be doing quizzes on a different day, I'll save that for a different day. But this will allow you to create a quiz out of any form that you create. So I'm going to save my settings, and now my form is ready to send. And there are a couple of ways that you can send it. I'm so glad we decided not to go into quizzes because there's just so much to go over with Google Forms. So you can hit this send button over on the top right. You can send it directly to their email from here. So this is tied to your Google contacts, so you can start typing in email addresses. And Mike, I'm going to click on you there. So I have, Michael's email, so I can send it directly to him. This will be the subject line of the email, and then you can personalize the message, and you can include the form in the email. So I can do that, and it will go directly that way. So you can do that. You can send it directly via email that way, or you can get a link and you can shorten the link right here. And I always do that. I always shorten the URL just to make it easier. So I shorten the URL, I can copy it, and then I can go to my Gmail and I can tell my students, please go to this form and fill it out and put the link in there. So that's your two options for direct send. And then if you want to embed this, which we won't really go into, but this helps you to embed a form into a website if you want to. So you can embed it that way into maybe a Google site or another website, because that's the HTML code. So those are the three ways that you can send out your form. And when you send it,
Could
go
you
ahead.
put it into Google Classroom?
Yes, you can put it into Google Classroom. And so the way that you would put it into Google Classroom, let me show you. I'm going to cancel here. Remember I showed you that Google Forms was in Google Drive?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in Google Classroom and I'm creating an assignment, I'm just going to go to, this was my practice. If you guys saw my Google Classroom lesson. So this was my practice class. If I want to create an assignment, I must really like dogs and cats. Those seem to be my examples that I use. So I want to create an assignment and I want to attach my Google form. I'm going to, of course, fill out the title and instructions, but when I go to add, I can just add it from Google Drive, and it will be a recent thing. There's my Google form right there. I click that, and there's my Google form into Google Classroom. So that's how I would add it to Classroom. It's creating an assignment that way. Okay, were there any other questions before I give you guys 10 minutes to just play? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to Google. I want you to practice creating a form. And I'm going to stop sharing. Well, maybe I should leave my screen share up. Should I? Do you want me to keep my screen share up so that you can see this as you work, or do you want me to moderate the chat? No preference?
I don't know.
Okay, I will keep this up for now, but what I will do is I will, if I hear the chat ping, because I can hear it ping, if I hear it, then I will go back to it and answer your questions. You can also unmute if you have any questions. But I'm going to mute myself for a second. And again, just go to either forms.google.com or go to your apps menu in Google and open up Forms and give it a shot. Try creating some questions and let me know if you have any questions. I will be on for the next 10 minutes to help you out as you need it. I'm actually going to stop the recording at this point because it's going to get pretty quiet. So I'm going to stop the recording.